Can you travel to North Macedonia with diabetes? Yes, and you should. There's a lot to see in the southern European country. Be smart and be careful, and diabetes can't stop you. Hi, I'm still Jeremy. This is my blood sugar report from 2 days in North Macedonia. First, a technical note. When I was there, it was called the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, and a lot of people just said Macedonia for short. The name of the country was officially changed in 2019 to North Macedonia. If I slip up in this video and just say Macedonia, I don't mean anything by it. So my travel partner and I were only in North Macedonia for a short time. After escaping the tear gas and demonstrations and dirty air in Kosovo, we just wanted a calm place to recuperate a little bit. So we took a bus to the capital, Skopje, and just wandered around the city for a couple days before leaving for Albania. So I only checked my blood sugar 11 times in North Macedonia. They ranged from 82 to 281, and the average was a very pleasing 158. Pleasing because, although maybe not perfect, it was much better than every other country from the previous 3 months on this trip. Only 2 readings were over 200 in fact, including the very first, in the apartment we were staying at, a short walk from the bus station. This 265 was perhaps a result of sitting on the bus for 2 hours and the sandwich lunch on board. Humalog never seems to get the hang of bus travel. But maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just too excited to be moving and crossing a border, and maybe blood sugar goes up from that. But anyway, things got steady for me. Very steady. After correcting that high and finishing some snack food left over from Kosovo, I was 143 before dinner, which was pasta and salad in the room, plus some wine that I purchased at a monastery back in Serbia. But then I had a second shot for the baklava dessert, and after that I was nearly the same, 146. Before bed it was 168, and the next morning 167. Now that's an evenness that had been awful hard to come by. Skopje is sort of a strange city. It was leveled by a massive earthquake in 1963 and has since been rebuilt. The reconstruction, though, has been undertaken on a grand and at times gaudy scale. Besides uneven stones meant to memorialize the earthquake, which destroyed 80% of Skopje, zillions of statues and monuments are everywhere. I mean everywhere. And huge, important-looking buildings with giant columns flanked by endless figures are on both sides of the Vardar River. Apparently a lot of this was done in 2014. There was so much of it, and it all looked so much like architecture from antiquity, but with perfectly straight new lines and dramatic purple and yellow lighting that was sort of overwhelming. I mean, it was fun, but it was like a Disneyland version of a national capital. Then again, there was a good record vendor in the town square that first night, so I felt at home. Plus, he had a George Harrison album. That means all the Beatles are now covered on this trip. First was the John Lennon Wall back in Prague, then a restaurant in Slovenia that Paul McCartney had once eaten at, and then a package of Ringo cookies, and now a George Harrison record in Skopje. Fab. I didn't buy it though. I bought a map of Macedonia instead. Look, it just says Macedonia on it. Anyway, who don't love a good local map? Look at all the places we didn't go! Yet. The next day was a day of walking and climbing. Activity always changes blood sugar. We looked at still more statues and monuments around the city center of Skopje, and blood sugars were good. I even ran around trying these weird blood sugar selfie videos in various spots. The main part of the day, besides seeing a statue of Nick Offerman and some Pac-Man art, hey, just like back in Bosnia and Herzegovina. What is it with Pac-Man and the former Yugoslavia anyway? Anyway, the main part of the day was hiking up to Kale Fortress on a big hill in town. The fortress is mostly ruins now, both ancient and resulting from the earthquake. But it's a fun place to wander around, walk along the walls, and peer over the view of Skopje and the mountains outside of town, especially here in the off-season when there are almost no other people. And then we strode through the old Bazaar below, with its Christian, Muslim, and Jewish sites, plus the bountiful stalls full of eggs, figs, and multicolored spices. And we saw that every shop apparently is assigned its own cat. And I was having blood sugar reading after reading right where I wanted them. The reason, I think, is that now, when eating things like burek in a little cafe, I was forcing myself to take another unit or 2 of insulin, rather than overthinking the supposed exercise I was getting and underdosing. Sufficient insulin worked. Imagine that. Of course, it never really lasts, and after another good dinner in the room, I was 281. Oh well, it had been 24 hours of bliss, and hey, it was 82 the next morning. And that was about it for North Macedonia. We didn't explore the rest of the country at all. This is definitely a place we need to go back and see properly. There are always places like that when you travel long term. Our last glimpse of the country, on the bus for Albania, was the famous Lake Ohrid on the border. And my last reading was a very acceptable 156. Good job, North Macedonia. Thanks for watching. Next is a few days in Albania, where the improved good readings continue. Generally. Check out my other videos for travel tips, stories from my own travels, and my experiences as a Type 1 diabetic wanderer. See you on the road.